Hey, what's up? It's Bill of the Universe, and I'm going to be talking about PUNARVASU. And PUNARVASU, I like PUNARVASU people. I like them a lot. I get along with them very well. But, you know, I feel like they don't really have a lot of enemies in general. PUNARVASU people, um, it's funny. If they do have enemies, I mean, I've seen them in having other placements. But PUNARVASU in general, I mean, I guess I can only speak for myself. They're really nice with me. We get along. They they have a lot of interests, and they're usually willing to indulge me and my interests. They have, if I say I want to do something, they're like, okay, sure, let's go. Like they are really open minded people. They even if they, what I notice a lot of, it's weird to say about Punarvasu. I notice a lot of them like are very, they grew up a very certain way and or a very specific way based off their culture of their home. Um, but they'll have friends of all different walks of life, all different types of people. Um, and I do notice that I do notice a lot of Punarvasu people coming from immigrant families or people coming from like foreign families or more ethnic families. Possibly because Jupiter is here, right? Jupiter is ruling. Jupiter rules faraway places, isolated places, stuff like that. Because all the Punarvasu people I know, they'll be like Indian or they're from Mexico or they're from Canada or they're from somewhere else. You know what I mean? Even my own brother, like he's Punarvasu, and even though he's from the States, he's half Indian and half Mexican. You know, and and we don't know exactly what year Mariah Carey was born. But it's very possible she was born in 69 and not 1970. But if she was born in 69, that would make her Punarvasu moon. And she's from the States, but she's half black, half white. And she even talked about how she always had kind of a hard time reconciling those two races growing up back in the day, being biracial. So that would be another example of like coming from a very type of isolated place or coming from a foreign place. So a lot of Punarvasu people, because Jupiter is having that influence, Jupiter kind of makes you come from a kind of a special situation. I had students who were Punarvasu moon, and they were Indian. Their parents were from Mumbai, uh, but they actually all were from Canada, and then they were living here in Texas because of the oil and gas industry. Their parents worked in oil, so yeah. Again, that's kind of like an isolating thing as well. Um, Elon Musk is, he's not. I'm sure most of y'all better know that he's not from the States. He's from South Africa. So again, there's that whole Jupiter making you a foreigner, Jupiter making you from an isolated place. Because not only was he from Africa, but he's his father was one of the richest men in the world. They owned a mine that they mined diamonds out of, and his father owned that company. Either owned that company or owned the land. So Elon Musk grew up like one of the richest men in the world, also from very very far away. So again, Bunarvasu is putting a foreign stank on you. You know, he's kind of putting you in an isolated place almost a lot of times, because my Indian piano students, they are not allowed to open the door for strangers, which is a reasonable rule if they're 9. But these are teenagers, and they live in a rich area. They live in the richest area in Houston, and they're not allowed to, do that. So that again, that's that type of what's it called? Isolation. And Elon Musk, grew up in Africa, which is far, but not only that, he grew up so rich, and and a lot of people are pretty sure, Same with royalty. When you grow up that rich, people have um, a target on your back. So he was constantly being sheltered, which is again isolation. So you do see that a lot. That's just something I personally noticed in Punarvasu. But Punarvasu are good writers. They're really good writers. They're part of what I call the big three of writing, which is Punarvasu moon, Hasta moon, and Aslesha moon. And what they all have in common is Mercury. Because Hasta is a star in Virgo, which is Mercury. Aslesha is a Mercury ruled nakshatra within Cancer, and Punarvasu is mostly in Gemini, which is Mercury. So that's what all these three nakshatras have in common is Mercury. Mercury makes you really good. This is where they get that interest in everything. They have a general interest. They're just open minded. You know, Mercury is not really the heart, so I can't really talk about the heart. That's actually more Jupiter. So not only are they open minded, but they have a good heart. They're open hearted, which is really really lovely. Punarvasu are really great people. Um, but I want to go back to Mercury real quick because that's in the writing. Mercury, Punarvasu make really good writers, and what's crazy is that I don't see a lot of Punarvasu people really leaning into the writing like they should be, because I just cannot help but see all these great writers. Um, if I can go back to Mariah Carey, she I know she's kind of like a funny example, but you wouldn't be laughing when you receive those checks that she gets. She has like 19 number one singles, and she wrote like 18 of them. Like almost all of them she either wrote completely or co-wrote. And she's Punarvasu Moon. They make fucking wonderful writers. And let's see, who else is a good my mother's other son, he never was a writer. He's not a writer now. He never was. But I remember him in high school in the 90s when I was a child. I remember like looking through his binder, and he was known for, he was a gangster in the 90s. He was like one of the, like when your mom was like, be careful with the bad kids. Like my brother was the bad kid. And so I didn't expect him to have like these really deep, insightful thoughts, and I didn't expect him to write with such style, and I don't want to say grace, but there was a grace to it because it flowed and it was elegant, and I remember reading one of his papers. And keep in mind, my brother's a gangster, right? So this is one of his English papers. He was supposed to write a poem. He wrote about a poem. He wrote a poem about this dude, like getting really fucked up and fucking all these hoes, and like walking through the house party, like lighting a blunt, and just very hedonistic and very kind of, I don't know, gangster, I should say. I don't know. I don't know what the word is, but you know what I'm talking about. And he's talking about how fucked up he is, but he's writing it like a rap. Almost, you could say he almost was writing it as if it was Tupac or something like that, because Tupac, he wrote about that gangster life, but he also was very poetic about it as well, right? So that's kind of what Punarvasu can do. And so I remember reading the poem, and then I just, for some reason, this really stands out. Then at the very end of the poem, he's talking about taking a girl home, and he's so drunk behind the wheel. And then the last line I remember to this day was like, "Oh shit, tree," and that was the end of the poem. And I remember thinking that was so explicit and inappropriate for a school poem, but his teacher gave him an A. His teacher was like, and his teacher wrote a note. His teacher wrote, "That was so good, man." And it really opened my eyes. I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old when I read that, and I was like, and he to this day he doesn't know I read that, and it just really showed me what a brilliant writer he was, and I tried to become a songwriter when I was young. I say that embarrassingly, but I did. I tried to be a songwriter, and my moon is in Hasta, which is again that trinity of writers: Hasta moon, Aslesha moon, Punarvasu moon. And so my mom's other kid is Punarvasu moon, and I'm Hasta. So I actually tried to be a writer, and I to this day I write all the time. And I remember he used to actually help me with some of the lyrics, and it was always a really good like suggestion. It was always really good. I was like, wow, you have a natural flow. So Punarvasu people are really good writers. I also did the 50 I did the charts of the 50 best-selling albums of all time. And I actually couldn't, being transparent, I couldn't finish the study. I had to put a hold on that for a while for personal issues. And but what I was noticing just from my eye while I was charting all these 50 best-selling albums was that Punarvasu was there such like all the time. Jupiter in general, Vishaka, Borva Padrapada, and Punarvasu. And Punarvasu was there all the time. Like either it was Punarvasu moon or Punarvasu like Rahu, because Rahu is creations. Rahu is the amalgamation of the corporate of like all these different things coming together to make a brilliant piece of art. That's what Rahu can do when it's operating healthy. And so you'll see a lot of these great albums having Rahu in Purnavasu, which makes sense because that's what an album is. It's not just music, it's a producer, it's a singer, it's a songwriter, it's the sound engineer, it's the distribution, it's the record company. It is a conglomerate. It is a corporate project, an album, you know? And so that's what Rahu is. Everyone coming together, making something future goal oriented, and then put it in Punarvasu. Punarvasu meaning it would be something that's written, that originally is written with the hand and paper, you know? And that's what an album is at its very soul, is a composer, you know, a writer writing, you know, music. So, oh shit, I'm watching TV right now. I'm watching this dude. Oh fuck. I'm watching this dude get eaten by a crocodile. That's fucking crazy. They're showing it on TV. That's weird. Anyway, oh. Oh, damn. Why are they showing that? I'm sorry. I have it on mute. I'm talking about um so anyway, yeah, my student is Punarvasu and he's a great writer. I just can't stop with the writing. Anyway, point is, let's move on. The other thing I noticed about Punarvasu is that you know what I want to call this is I want to call it Punarvasu, um, God's child or the devil's angel, question mark, because Jupiter in general gives these people kind of a rough time with their this bipolarity. And so when people grow older, Jupiter people, I do notice that some of them can develop a type of bipolarism or something where they just, if they can't, if it's hard for them to reconcile these two things about themselves. Like on one hand, they'll be so great, they'll be a perfect model citizen, they'll be a well-behaved child, they'll be, you know, something. But on the other hand, they can have a real mischief to them. They can do things that people would consider evil. They can do things that people would consider nasty, something like that. And Jupiter can tend to have that effect where these really great guys, you know, they're model citizens, like I said, they're good fathers, they're good providers, but then they have this other side to them that's actually secret that you would not even know that they have, but it makes sense because no one's perfect. You know, you keep coming across as this really, really successful person, or a good person, or you could come across as whatever, a really something type of person. And then all of a sudden, like, you have this other side to you that's actually quite gangster, that's very intense, and that can be so intense that some people would even think it's like evil, you know. And it's funny because when I first opened up, when I was first thinking about making the video today, I was like, okay, I'm gonna record it today. I'm gonna talk about Punarvasu today. And I was watching a video on Zarna Garg, and she's a comedian from India. And I was like, she's giving me Punarvasu vibes. So I looked up her chart, and she has no Punarvasu. But she was Uttarabhadrapada moon, which is a Pisces, which is Jupiter. She's conjunct. Her sun is conjunct her Venus and Mercury, I think. No, Venus, I forget. Two planets that are in Purva Pada, which are Jupiter nakshatras. So her sun was not Punarvasu, but it was conjunct two Jupiter planets. And she had all, and like her Mars was in Sagittarius, and the other planets were either in Pisces or Jupiter nakshatra. So she was super, 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 super Jupiter. So I was like, man, the energy kind of matches. And like I was talking about, this woman, she's not Punarvasu, but she's so fucking Jupiter. Like, she's heavy Jupiter. She grew up in Mumbai, far away, but of even though she grew up far away in a third world country, she grew up like the top 1% because her father owned several factories and he did business with the United States. So he was like very, 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 very rich. She grew up kind of like a princess, which is so funny because, like I said, kind of like Elon Musk, grew up very, very far away, but grew up in luxury. And same with this lady, Zarn. She's a comedian. She came. I first saw her on Amy Poehler's podcast, and Amy Poehler, again, back to the writing, is an Aslesha Moon, and she wrote a lot of those skits for SNL. She wrote the Parks and Rec episodes, you know, stuff like that. So just, and you can see how they connect. You can see how they attract to each other because they're all writers. What was I going to say about growing up like that? I forget. Okay. Sorry, I just keep going off on a tangent. I was gonna also talk about how, like, yeah, Punarvasu has this double side to them. My brother's first child, my mom's first kid, he has a tattoo. He's a Punarvasu moon. He has a tattoo of a an angel. It's on his back. He has a tattoo of an angel looking down at the pond, and the reflection is a devil. And both of these figures have wings, and they're like symmetrical, exactly symmetrical. And so he told me when he didn't tell me anything. He just had it on his back, and that's it. That's just some tattoo he got, whatever, whatever. Anyway, his daughter is Vishaka's son. Vishaka's the other Jupiter ruled star. And you already know the son talks about the father. So my niece's son is in Vishaka, which means her father is very Jupiter, and he is in fact Punarvasu moon. So anyway, my mother's first son has a lot of Jupiter issues, and consequently, my niece has a lot of Jupiter issues being a Vishaka sun. And so she told me, she was like, well, me and my dad, we both kind of had these issues in life where we don't know if we're God's child or devil's angel. And she told me that's why he got that tattoo on his back, because that's something he kind of like grapples with in life. So I feel like a lot of Jupiter people, including Punarvasu, to point of my whole fucking story, is that there can be this double side to you where you kind of find it hard to reconcile with it. on one hand, you're a really, really giving person. You're actually too giving. You can be doormatted a lot. You are someone who is very stylish and very fun and very giving. You're a very forgiving person. You're very you actually are very a supporter. Like you're a Punarvasu people are providers, you know, but they also have this other side of them where they either do gangster shit, like like literally being nefarious activities. I've seen people do that with drugs, with like literally gangster activity, or like the women, they'll be married to people who are in drugs, who are drug dealers, or they'll be paired up. They'll have a partner who is a gang member or something like that. Punarvasu, that's what I'm saying. Like Punarvasu can have that double side like that, where on one hand they love their children. They that's their life. That's their main motivation. They love being a father. They love being a mother. They love being there. They have a big heart. They have a bleeding heart for their loved ones. But on the other side, like they'll totally, sell you. But they sell coke on the side. like they'll have a wonderful birthday party for their children. All the kids are running around. They're cutting the cake. They're beating up the piñata, and then they go to the bathroom, and they sell coke to the grown ups or to the dad. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Or the dad. That I knew a mother. I knew this lady. She was so cool. She was a single mom. She was a really good woman. She provided for her baby. She loved her son. She loves her son. She's such a dedicated mother, but she also sells coke. So I mean, that's just that double sidedness. And my mother's other kid, he doesn't. He's never told me this, but because he's in trucking, and he delivers. He delivers meat. He delivers like Mexican prepped meat, and he drives it up north, you know, to Chicago and Atlanta because but we're down here in Texas where everything's Mexican flavored, right? So that's what his job is. He puts it in trucks and he drives it up there. And in my mind, he's never told me, but in my mind, I've always wondered, like, I wonder if he's packed a couple of extra things up in that truck, to make a little extra money. That's just my opinion. I know another Punarvasu moon where the guy is a really great father, caring father. Will do anything for his children, anything for his family. He's very devoted, and he also likes to fuck moms. He likes to fuck his students' mothers. I'm definitely not going to tell you who that is, but that's what he likes to do. He's an educator, and he's a pillar in society, and he was caught in scandal, fucking the moms. So, I mean, Jupiter's a very masculine energy, actually. That's why they get what's that word called? Doormatted a lot, is because a true man isn't going to be petty like a moon person. I'm a moon person, okay? When someone upsets me, I'm gonna talk about it. If someone like bumps me, but Jupiter people, you can hit them in the face, and for the most part, they'll forgive you. For the most part, they'll forgive you. They know how to. They don't like to sweat the small stuff, but every now and then it gets scary. But anyway, the point is that's why they do it, because a true man isn't gonna sweat the small stuff. He's not gonna be petty, right? A Venus person might be petty. A moon person definitely will be petty. A Mercury person will be petty. And I know Mercury is in Gemini here, kind of ruling Punarvasu, but Punarvasu is ultimately a Jupiter nakshatra, right? So that's the pilot here of this airplane. And so, but Jupiter is a man. Jupiter and the Sun and Mars are men. And the Sun is a leader, but he's egotistical. Mars can just straight up cause problems because he's so fucking tamasic. But Jupiter is sattvic. Jupiter is sattvic. Okay, so sattvic, that means kind, that means loving, that means generous. Um, that means spiritual, religious. Dharmic, dharma, which is following a life of righteousness, following a godly path. It's not a dharmic like Ketu, or Mars. It's sattvic. So he's going to do what's best for the general collective. He's not going to think about what's best for me. He's going to be thinking what's best for us, what's best for all of us, which is part of why they make great providers, which is part of why they make great leaders. They don't actually seek out leadership, but because they're very sattvic, they get thrust into that position because cosmically they've earned it. They can handle it. They're not gonna once they get control of the family estate, they're not gonna kick everyone out and keep the castle for themselves. They're of course gonna share it with everyone. They're gonna want the holidays to be at that house. And I also, speaking of houses, there's this like ancient thing about Punarvasu losing a home and then getting a new one that's so much better, or being able to take old homes and remodel them and make them really really great. And I have noticed that. So in my sun is in Maka Nakshatra, but in my Navamsa chart, my sun is in Punarvasu in the Cancer Navamsa, the very last one. So my Navamsa, I'm a Cancer sun, but actually I'm a Punarvasu sun. And it's funny because my house did burn down, and I wound up getting a really, really, really great house instead. And the other thing is, I remember moving into my boyfriend's house. He had this big house, and it was so beautiful, but it was run down like a motherfucker. Like, it was a couple steps away from being condemned. That's how run down it was. And I totally redid it. Like, I totally remade it. I redid the lawn. I re-landscaped. I just have a lot of home knowledge, cooking, cleaning, floorboards, plumbing, and ventilation, landscaping. Like, it's something that I love. I think a lot of Punarvasu people really, really enjoy their homes. They have a lot of know-how when it comes to their homes. So I kind of did see that as well. It resonated with me when I heard that Punarvasu people can like have homes and then lose them and then get like a mansion instead, or they'll find a house that's totally totally run down and then like renovate it and make it more beautiful than it ever was. So because I've had experience with both those situations. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I can't really speak for the women on this part, but I know that the men are generally tall and they usually have thick booties and they're usually good looking from where I stand. Uh like I said, Jupiter is a man. You know who is a Jupiter person is Will Ferrell, and someone said, who was it? I think it was Meryl Streep, actually. I really do. I think it was Meryl Streep. I think she was like, everyone can have what's his name? Like the young, hot actors. I want Will Ferrell because Will Ferrell is a man, and because she's sensing the true virility in Jupiter. Because like I said, Jupiter is a male planet. So they're not known for being pretty boys, but they are very handsome, and they do have a nice masculine aura to them. So for that reason, they're very attractive, and because they're Jupiter, it makes them tall. It can give them tall bodies, big thighs, big booties. So yeah. All right, guys. I think that's enough. I love you. Bye.